Pass through the gates. Wow. My very first music presentation or performance, my very first performance, let's say that, was actually at a spoken word event that used to be organized at the Junction Mall. This is why I'm grateful for the late Janet Muiva, who, okay, my distant relative, but I didn't know then. But she was so passionate about the arts, and I don't know how they got into hosting the poetry spoken word sessions at the Junction Mall, but that's where they did it. And so one day I wrote a spoken word piece of poetry, ended up being the winner, ended up having my lyrics on display on a big screen in a theater hall packed with people. And that's where I think I met number 8 at that place, if I'm not wrong. We used to joke, he used to call me number 7. Anyway, so I had roots in the spoken word field before I even recorded music. And I remember in 2008, just late 2007, 2008, post-election violence had occurred. And where we lived, you could see Kawangware is on fire. And on this other side, Kibra is on fire. You can just see plumes of smoke going up. And we were tense. In the estate we used to live, at least it was a gated community. But then you couldn't move. I mean, it was like COVID, but in a mini way, travel restrictions, etc. So I remember I used to go lock myself in my room and I would just pray. What else to do as a new believer? You have so much time on your hands, you're not going to school, campus has been closed, the nation's not working, and I'd just pray. And I'd lock myself in the closet and pray and pray and pray and pray loudly. Literally, lock myself in the closet and then pray. And I got to a place where I took the book of Isaiah and I would read it out as a prayer. And I would just pray and 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 pray until I got to Isaiah 62. That's how pass through came. Verse 10 says, pass through the gates. Prepare the way for the people, build up the highway, remove the stones, raise a banner for the nations. And I just lifted it into a spoken word piece. And by this time, 7 was already done. But I decided to go to the studio on a Saturday morning, and I had access to the studio and recorded myself doing this spoken word piece. So I just did the audio. When I got home, I got the inspiration. This must be the inspiration from the Holy Spirit, just to start putting drums and strings onto it. And by the time the producers, that time I was working with someone who was helping me with mass producing the album. So you remember printed CDs. So they asked me for the master. So I had to make a decision. Do I put this or don't put this? And I played it for Peter Chalo. I remember he was there. And I played it to him because I was confused. I mean, this is spoken word, and this one is, the rest of the music is rap, and I just felt maybe, I don't know. So Chalo told me, yeah, put it. And so I added it and burnt a new CD. And wow, this was my first work of art that went on radio, passed through the gates, because it was different, I believe. But also, it carried the prophetic message at the time. And I remember calling DJ Moz. At that time, he was on Hope FM. And he told me to leave the CD at the gate of Hope FM. And so I did. And a few hours later, I'm hearing pass through. debuting on radio. Shout out DJ Mose. Appreciate what you've done for me and the ministry. And this thing spread like wildfire. A friend of mine who was in Mombasa called me and told me, hey, I just heard Pass Through the Gates being played in a church in Mombasa. Never been to a ministry engagement, but it had gone to Mombasa. I also remember I performed it at then Sitam Woodley. Man, I got my first standing ovation because the Spirit of God was in it. Not that the rest of the music is not, but at that time, this was a prophetic message. It was like telling the church, hey, this is our assignment. We are being refocused. We're being told what to do. Go through the gates, prepare the way for the people, build up the highways, raise up the banner for the nations, raise up the standard, raise up a banner. And that's the story of Pass Through the Gates. So I didn't perform it on so many platforms, but it did circulate for a while. And I believe that the Spirit of God, this is the picture I usually have about my music, that the Spirit would sit on the lyrics and transform the words to be something else. And I believe it ministered to a lot of people. So that's the story of how Pass Through was recorded and the album 7. And now moving on, we're going to talk about my other songs, Alter Ego and Beauty for Ashes, coming up next. Thank you. Please subscribe, hit the like button, subscribe so that and make sure you have an alert for any time that I post this. We're going to continue swiftly. I mean, how many more albums to go? So we're going into Breadbasket 1 next. We're going to Breadbasket 2 after that. We'll highlight a few songs, stories behind it. We'll go into Black and White, which is my 4th album. So see you on the next one. Pass through the gates. Prepare the way for the people.